Today we're checking out a ton of my Jurassic World T-Rex figures, and we're going to be placing them all along this table side by side from biggest to smallest. So let's get started with the biggest ones, the super colossal T-Rexes. This first one is custom colored, so it's got the light gray body. It's also got some bright and evil looking red eyes. So let's put this first super colossal T-Rex right on the edge because we're gonna need as much space as we can get on this table. Next, let's grab this other super colossal T-Rex. This is the bright orange and brown super colossal T-Rex, and I think that this first gray T-Rex over here might have actually been originally this orange color over here. So it has a lot of the same detailing with the skin. It's got the same mouth and teeth and the stomach compartment so you can feed this dinosaur. So we're gonna put it right next to this other super colossal T-Rex, side by side. Next, I've got another super colossal T-Rex, but this is actually the newest super colossal T-Rex that Mattel has released. This is the Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. So it's got different texturing along its body, obviously a very different color. This is the black and brown. Many of the new T-Rexes from Jurassic World Dominion are colored in a similar way as this one. Let's put this right next to the other super colossal T-Rexes. All right, now we're moving down a size to the typical size for T-Rex figures for Jurassic World. This first one is the Hammond Collection T-Rex figure that came out very recently for Jurassic World Dominion. This figure has quite a bit of detailed coloring. You can check out those black stripes. You see that there's black spots all over its body as well. The texturing of the skin is pretty good as well, but the best feature of this T-Rex is how adjustable it is. You can bend its elbows, you can adjust its neck in all directions, even its knees and ankles. Look how many different joints there are that you can adjust. So this figure is very adjustable and is one of my next largest T-Rexes. So we're gonna put this right next to the super colossal. Look at the size difference between the two though. Next up, we've got another Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex. This T-Rex came out the same time as this super colossal figure, and check it out. They have some pretty similar coloring. Like I said, for the new movie, it seems that they're going with a much darker color scheme for the T-Rexes. Let's put this T-Rex right next to the Hammond Collection T-Rex. Next up, we've got a slightly older figurine. I think this one might be a Camp Cretaceous T-Rex, but this one is actually one of my favorite figures because of the function of the tail. You can use the button on its tail to open and close its mouth, plus you can twist the tail to move the head around in a super lifelike way. I really enjoy how they designed this T-Rex. So we're gonna put this T-Rex right next to the Jurassic World Dominion newest T-Rex. Next up, I forget its official name, but this is the Terran T-Rex. This T-Rex has two buttons on its back. The first and the most important one does a tearing action with its jaw. Look at how it twists its neck and closes its mouth at the same time, as if it's tearing off a huge piece of meat. There's also a second button for swinging the tail back and forth as well. This is a pretty similar size as this one, so we're just gonna put it right next to it. Right over here, we've got a custom colored camouflage T-Rex. This one is actually a much older figure as well, as it has some different features. You can use the tail to snap the neck up and down. Let's see if I can do it with one hand. Check that out. So you just lift up the tail and it has a snapping motion. And it also comes with sound effects for when you stomp on the ground. I don't think it works on this one anymore, but it has quite a few different features from all these T-Rexes over here. And it's around the same size, so we're gonna put this right next to that T-Rex. Next up is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. Check out the coloring on this one. This one has splotchy gray coloring, which is a bit different compared to all the other smaller T-Rexes that we've seen so far. And the biggest feature of this T-Rex is the button on its back that lifts its head up for roaring. And it comes with sound effects as well. Plus, as you can tell from the name of the Stomp and Escape T-Rex, you can twist its tail. I don't know if I can do it with one hand, but you can twist its tail to stomp its feet up and down as well. All right, let's put this T-Rex right next to the Camo T-Rex. Looks like we've got some more bright orange T-Rexes coming up next. This is an old T-Rex figure from Jurassic World. I think this was one of the first ones that came out, and it looks totally different compared to these other figures. Let's check out these features. First, there is a stomping sound effect that you can activate just by stamping its feet down. And there is also a chomping action that you can press up its tail and then release its tail to have that chomping action, just like that, which is pretty cool. Totally different compared to these other newer figures. So let's see if we can put this T-Rex right next to the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. See if he stands up. This one's a little difficult to stand. There we go. Next up is one of my proudest T-Rex figurines from Jurassic World. This is a custom colored T-Rex that I did a month or two ago. This one has some of my favorite coloring. I really love green T-Rexes. And this figure is actually the Stomp and Escape T-Rex, which is the same as this T-Rex right here. So check out that color difference. This one is a lot more green. They both have the yellow underbelly, and this one has a lot whiter teeth as well. I'm super proud of this one, and I think this one actually belongs next to the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. So we're gonna move this one and put this one right next to that one. This is another bright orange and brown T-Rex, and check out how similar colored it is compared to this super colossal T-Rex right here. They are very similar, even with the eye coloring. And like many of the other T-Rex figures, this T-Rex has a button on the top of its head to open and shut its jaws. But it doesn't come with any sound effects or anything like that. And let's set this down right next to this slightly larger orange T-Rex. See if we can get him in a nice pose. All right, looking good. Here is another green T-Rex, my favorite color of a T-Rex. This one actually has some black stripes and splotches all along the top of its body, except for its tail, which is a bit weird, but it has it along the rest of its body. And just like the last T-Rex that we saw, this one has a button on the top of its head to open and shut its jaw. Let's set that right next to this other T-Rex that I think is the exact same size. All right, check it out. This is our first battle damage T-Rex of this entire collection. Check out the battle damage all over its body. It's got some on its chin, on its neck, all over on this side, and even on the tail as well. And I think this is the exact same size as these figurines right over here. And aside from the battle damage all over its body, I think the coloring is the exact same as this one right here. They look pretty identical to me. Moving right along, we've got another battle damage T-Rex. This is actually the newest extreme battle damage T-Rex from Jurassic World Dominion. And it has the battle damage on its side that you can turn on and off with the click of a button. That is super cool. Plus, it's got some really unique coloring for a T-Rex. I don't think I have any other T-Rex that has this coloring on the top and on the sides. It's a pretty unique orange kind of color. Let's set it down right next to the other first extreme battle damage T-Rex. And here is our last extreme battle damage of this collection. This is a much earlier extreme battle damage. You'll see that it has very different coloring compared to the Jurassic World Dominion figure. They both have that same battle damage feature on its side though, that you can turn on and off. Other than the coloring though, I think they're pretty identical in shape and in texturing. So let's put this right next to that T-Rex. Next up, we've got another custom colored T-Rex. I'm sure you recognize this one from when I've shown it before. This is a super fiery red T-Rex with black on the top. It's got some flame-like things on the side and the super bright red on the sides and the bottom. This one is super cool looking and very unique, and I think it's just the same size as these other figures right here. This next T-Rex right here is pretty normal colored. I'd say it's a lot more realistic than some of these other T-Rex figures that we've seen so far. It's got the brown sides, darker brown on top, and the light underbelly. So it is a very stark contrast compared to this fire T-Rex right here. So let's set it down right there, and check it out. This one also has the button on the top of its head to activate the jaw. All right, we're moving on to a slightly smaller size. These are some older Jurassic World T-Rexes. I think these came out for the first Jurassic World movie. This one is a light tan T-Rex. Doesn't have too much coloring along its body. Does have some gray striping and shading along its head though. And it has an action button on its back to activate the jaw. And unfortunately, a bummer about these much older T-Rex figures from Jurassic World is it is really hard to make them stand up. So I actually have to pose them like this, so using the tail on the back to help them stand. but it is a bit smaller than all these other T-Rexes here too. Here we've got a similar shaped T-Rex. This is also a very old Jurassic World T-Rex. This one, I believe, is custom colored. Check it out, it's got that lime green underbelly, it's got some red and the black spots all along its top, and those yellow eyes too. All right, let's see if we can set this down right next to this other smaller T-Rex right here. There we go. This next T-Rex is even a little bit more special. This is a hybrid T-Rex, and it's also a much older Jurassic World T-Rex. So check it out. When you press this button, it activates the spikes on its back, and it also operates its jaw at the same time too. It's got some unique patterns along its body as well. It's pretty cool. Let's set this down right next to these other T-Rexes. All right, now we've got some especially small T-Rex figures. This next one is the Jurassic World Dominion Sound Surge T-Rex. So this one actually came out pretty recently, and it is a lot smaller, and it comes with sound effects that you can activate by pressing this button on the top of its back. That's pretty cool. Let's set this down next to these much older T-Rex figures, see if we can get it to stand. Next up is this brand new T-Rex figure that I bought for this video. This is the Funko Pop T-Rex figure for Jurassic World Dominion. Let's open it up. So here is the figurine. It's got the all black eyes, it's got those yellow teeth, a huge mouth, and the rest of its body is a brown color. It's got some cool detailing on its face, and of course it's got the light underbelly as well. Let's put this right at the end of the table next to the Sound Surge T-Rex. This figure is another old Jurassic World figure. It's much smaller than many of the T-Rex figures that I have. It's got the light green body, which I think is pretty cool. It's got some battle damage on the side, and it has an action that you can use the tail to move the head around and even open and close its jaws too. So for how small this figure is, it's actually pretty cool with the function. All right, it looks like we're running out of room on the edge of the table, so we're just gonna put this right in front here. We're gonna start a smaller little line up front. Here's another old Jurassic World figurine, another super small T-Rex. It's got a tan body, the same battle damage on the side, and the same function with the tail to operate its jaw and its neck. So you'll see that this figure is actually identical to the bright green one, aside from the coloring. All right, now we're on to the really small T-Rexes. This one is actually a baby T-Rex with a bandage on its leg and a strap around its mouth so that it doesn't bite the humans. This figure is super adjustable. Look, you can adjust the elbow, you can adjust the knees, the ankles, and it's got a rubberized tail so you can actually bend the tail as well, which is really cool. And we're gonna put this all the way down at the end of the line with the smallest T-Rexes. Next up is another baby T-Rex with slightly different coloring. It's got a yellowish green coloring with the darker detailing along the top, and it has an action using its tail. You can open and shut its jaw. Let's set this baby T-Rex down right next to the other baby T-Rex. And these final two and smallest T-Rex figures from Jurassic World are the smallest T-Rexes that I have in my collection. Check out this first one. It's more reflective. It's got some silver on top and the brown on the sides, and you can actually open and close the jaw manually. And this figure right here is in more of a roaring pose. And it's got the all orange, a little bit darker orange on top, but you can't open and close the jaw on this one. And these are both super tiny, so let's put them at the very end of the table next to the baby T-Rexes. Today we're going to be checking out this giant bin full of T-Rexes, Giganotosauruses, Spinosauruses, and Carnotaurus, all from Jurassic World. First up is this extreme chomping Spinosaurus. It's got the green body with the red spine and the red around its face and a button to open and close its jaw. Next, we've got a huge Giganotosaurus figure with the classic green body and black detailing all along its top and sides. This figure is fully posable with its legs, arms, and its tail, and it actually has 2 action buttons. One to swing the torso around, and one to open and close the jaw. Here is a really old T-Rex figure. This is from Jurassic Park. It's got the red and black body. Its whole body is soft and rubbery, aside from its arms and its legs. It's got a huge set of teeth and those yellow eyes, and it used to have an action button that would open and close its jaw, but it's a little old and doesn't work quite as well now. Here is a Carnotaurus with some bright orange-red coloring along its body and darker coloring along the top. Its skin is super bumpy and textured. It's got those huge horns on the top of its head, and it is fully posable with the arms, the legs, and the tail, and you can actually use the tail to move the head up and down and open and close its jaw. Here's a T-Rex from the Jurassic World Dominion series. It has much darker coloring than many T-Rex figures and a much larger head as well. It's got some bright yellow eyes, a huge set of teeth, and with a tail like many other T-Rex figures, you can use it to twist its head, move it around, and open and close its jaw. This is the Stomp and Escape Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's got a lighter color body with some gray detailing all over. It's got fully posable arms, and actually the feet stomp whenever you twist the tail back and forth. And there's one more action on its back, a button that you can press for the roaring. Here is another Carnotaurus figure. It's got a darker red coloring along its body and an almost purple color along the top of its body. It's got the same bumpy texture and the horns on the top of its head. This dinosaur's eyes are black though, which is pretty scary looking. And there's an action button on its back for the chomping. This is the Sound Surge Giganotosaurus figure. A bit smaller than the last one we saw, but it still has the same awesome coloring and the huge black spine along its back. It is fully posable. You can move the tail, the legs, and the arm, and you can open and close the mouth manually. And the most important part for the sound effects is you press on top of this spine. That's got a really long roar. One detail that I didn't really notice too much before is that you can see a lot of battle damage all along its body. It's got all these slashes and scrapes on its legs, on its torso, and just everywhere. That's pretty cool. Here is a giant Spinosaurus figure with different coloring than any other figure that I have. And it's even a little more intricate than a lot of the dinosaur figures that I have. It's got blue along its spine. It's got these tan lines and dark brown all over its body. It's got a lighter underbelly. Its nails are painted like this orange-brown color and they're faded, which is really cool. It's got these glowing green eyes and it's got some dirty looking teeth too, which is a fun detail. Next up, I've got the Sound Surge Tyrannosaurus Rex. This is the same figure as the Sound Surge Giganotosaurus, a bit smaller than a lot of the T-Rex figures over there, but it's got a similar coloring with the brown and the gray detailing along its neck. This figure is fully posable as well. You can move the legs, the tail, the arm, and you can open and close the mouth. And of course, there's the button for the sound effects. Here's another T-Rex figure. I believe this one is from the first Jurassic World movie, so it looks quite a bit different. It's got a rubbery tail and a rubbery neck that you can push back and forth, and it has a chomping function as well. This is a Spinosaurus figure from Jurassic Park, and it looks totally different from the Jurassic World Spinosaurus figures. Still got the big spine, but it's got totally different coloring, its head shape is pretty different, and overall it just looks totally different from the new ones. Here is another Carnotaurus figure. This one has a dark brown coloring with darker detailing along the top. It's got the same bumpy texture along its skin, the two big horns, and the yellow eyes. And it is fully posable as well. You can move the legs, you can move the arms, and you can use the tail to control the head. This T-Rex figure is super posable. Not only can you move the tail, the legs, and the arms, but you can actually move the neck in all directions so you can have it look wherever you want it to, which is really cool. And this figure has the button on the top of its head used for opening and closing the jaw. This T-Rex figure is another old Jurassic World figure, I believe from the first movie. It's got a light tan body and it is pretty posable. You can move the arms, the legs. Can't move the tail at all, but it does have an action button on its back to open and close the jaw. You know what? I almost forgot about these brand new ones that I just bought to add to my collection. Let's start with this Jurassic World Dominion Extreme Damage Tyrannosaurus Rex. Let's click that tail in there. Easy enough. All right, so I think this is the newest battle damage T-Rex that they've made, and it's got some pretty cool coloring. It's got a much darker orange coloring than many of the T-Rex figures, and it's got some detailing along its entire body, like discoloration that make it look quite a bit more realistic, I think. It's also got some dark gray detailing right along its back and neck, all the way up to around its eyes and its nose. And its entire body is pretty posable too. You can move the legs, you can move the arms, you can move the tail, you can twist the neck in all sorts of directions so you can have it look wherever you want it. And you can pose the mouth as well. It stays open, it doesn't require a button to keep it open. But there is one button on its back, and that's used for activating the extreme battle damage. This battle damage is just like some of the other Tyrannosaurus Rex figures that I have, and I really like how they do this feature, so I'm glad that they're keeping it going. The next brand new figure that I bought for this collection is the Sound Surge Carnotaurus. Let's check it out. Then we gotta click this leg in, and the tail. That went in pretty easy. This Carnotaurus figure has the same red coloring as many of the other Carnotaurus figures that I have, but as you can see, it doesn't have that much other detailing along its body. It is just a plain red color. Aside from around its head, it's got some gray detailing along its neck and on the top of its head too. It's got some dark gray or black eyes, and you can open the mouth manually. And most important of all, you've got the button for the sound effects. Next up is this giant T-Rex with a tearing action. Using this first button on its back, you can actually have it tear and twist away as if it's grabbing a huge piece of meat. That's pretty cool. I don't have another T-Rex figure that does an action like this. And there is actually another button that you can use to swing the tail back and forth. Plus, the rest of this figure is posable as well. You can move the arms, the legs, and you can move the tail by yourself if you want to as well. Here I've got a little Carnotaurus figure from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. It's got a dark green body with the orange detailing along the top and a pretty posable body. You can move the arms, the legs, you can twist the tail, and you can actually move the neck around and open and close the jaw manually. Here is the last Spinosaurus in this bin. This is the Extreme Chompin' Spinosaurus from Camp Cretaceous. It's got the light tan body with the red detailing on its spine and on its face. And it's got a posable body. You can move the neck around to look in all directions. You can move the arms and the legs and the tail as well. And there's the button on the top of its head for chomping and roaring. Here's what looks like a baby Carnotaurus figure. It's got a much smaller body but a larger head, and it has two action buttons, one for blinking and moving the eyes, and one for the chomping action on its tail. And it is a posable figure as well. You can move the arms and you can move the legs around too. Way in the back here, I've got a super colossal T-Rex from Jurassic World Dominion. This figure has a dark brown body with darker detailing all over. It's got the light underbelly and the stomach compartment and a ginormous jaw that you can feed smaller dinosaurs. Plus, all the limbs on this dinosaur are posable. You can move the arms, the legs, the ankles, and the tail too. Next is the super colossal Carnotaurus Toro. It has the iconic clay red coloring like many of the Carnotaurus figures with the brown detailing along the top, along with a super bumpy texture along its back. It has a lighter underbelly with the stomach compartment can feed it tons of little dinosaurs. It's got some bright orange eyes and the battle damage right along its nose. That's a pretty big gash too. And you can move all the limbs in this figure, including the neck, the arms, the legs, and the tail. And finally, here is the super colossal Giganotosaurus figure. It's got the green and black body with the huge spines along its back. It's got some pretty crazy and unique looking teeth. Look how they fit together when it closes its mouth. That's pretty cool. It's got some reflective gold eyes, and all the limbs on this figure are movable too. You can move the neck, you can move the arms, even the wrists, move the legs and ankles, and you can move the tail back and forth too. Welcome back to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we are checking out a huge collection of Jurassic World apex predators, meaning that they are at the top of the food chain. And I've actually got a brand new Tyrannosaurus Rex from the Jurassic World Legacy collection that we're gonna open up first. Here is the brand new T-Rex and the baby T-Rex. I already have one of these T-Rexes, but I think this is the first of the green T-Rex that I have. So I'm super excited to check this one out. As you can see, most of its body is a dark green color. It's got the lighter underbelly, and it's got the black detailing right along the top. And it's about as adjustable as my other T-Rex figures. So you can move the ankles, you can move the legs into different positions, move the tail around, and then the neck you can also move around so it can look in different directions. And of course, there's the button at the top of its head for the chomping action. This is a really cool looking figure, and I'm sure that the T-Rex is one of the best known apex predators. Here we've got a dinosaur that you can't find in real life, but I'm sure it would be an apex predator if it was real. This is the Indominus Rex, and this is one of the big figures. You can see that it's pretty adjustable. You can move the legs into different positions, and that causes the dinosaur to look up and down. You can see it moves its neck back and forth like that. This figure also comes with the two action buttons, one for the chomping, and then one on the back for the slashing action. This is another T-Rex. This one is mostly brown. It's got the dark brown on the top, lighter brown on the sides, and then a tan on the bottom. And this T-Rex figure has a tearing action, actually. So when you press this button on its back, it tears just like that. And there's also a second action button that swings the tail back and forth. Here is a Carcharodontosaurus with blue coloring on its body and the orange and brown detailing on the top. This also has one action button for chomping. Plus, you can adjust the arms and the legs and the tail as well. Next up, we've got two Endoraptors. And obviously, these dinosaurs aren't from real life, but if they were, I can guarantee you that they would be an apex predator. I just remember them from the Jurassic World movie. These were some of the most feared dinosaurs. This first Endoraptor is a more basic figure. You can only move the arms, the legs, and the tail, but you can't adjust the neck or open and close the mouth. But on this second Endoraptor figure, this one is super adjustable. It's got a bunch of points of articulation. Again, it's a double jointed tail. You can bend the knees, you can bend the ankles, you can adjust the arms fully, and you can open and close the mouth too. Right over here, we've got two Suchomimuses. This one is a blue with yellow detailing, and this one is yellow with brown detailing on the top. This one has two action buttons, one for chomping and one for the tail. This Suchomimus only has one action button that activates the jaw. Right up top here, we've got a smaller figure, but still a fearsome predator. This is a Baryonyx. It's got the green sides and belly and the brown top. The arms and legs can articulate and move around, and there's an action button on its back for chomping. Back here, actually, we've got another Baryonyx. This one has a brown body and sides with the dark gray-blue coloring on the top and the bright orange detailing right on the top of its face. And just like the other figure, the legs and the arms can move too. Here is an older Jurassic World figure. You can see that this is another T-Rex. It's got the full tan body And on its head, it's got some gray detailing. It's got those yellow eyes and an action button on its back to activate the jaw. Here we've got a newer figure from the Jurassic World Dominion series. This is a Tyrannosaurus. It's got the green body, a lighter yellow underbelly. It's got some brown detailing along the top, and then that bright orange piece right on its head. This figure is pretty adjustable with its arms and its legs. You can see that moving the legs dips its head down like that. And the tail controls the jaw and can move the neck around too. Back here is another newer figure from the Jurassic World Dominion series. This is a Scorpiovinator. This figure has an orange belly and sides. It's got some white detailing right along the top and a dark gray-blue color right along the top of its head. This figure is fairly adjustable. You can move the arms and the legs. And when you push down on its legs, it does a chomping action. This one is another T-Rex. This T-Rex though is the battle damage edition. It's got the button on top that you can use to turn on and off the battle damage, which is a pretty awesome feature. This figure is pretty adjustable too. You can move the ankles, can move the legs up and down. The tail only has one joint in it though, but the neck of this T-Rex is really adjustable. You can have him look in all directions, and you can open and close its mouth really easily. This is a Carnotaurus figure. It's got the clay red body with the darker detailing spots on the sides and the brown right along the top. You can see that the Carnotaurus has a lot of bumps and ridges and that spine right there as well. And with this figure, the tail controls the head, and there's a button as well to open and close its mouth. Here's another newer figure from the Jurassic World Dominion series, and I think this is one of my favorite newest dinosaur figures. This is the Rajasaurus. This figure also has a chomping action when you press down on the legs, and you can adjust its arms, its legs, and even twist its tail around a little bit. I love this dinosaur's head. You've got the horn right at the top, and you've got this really cool smaller spine right on its neck, these spikes. It's really cool. Here we have another very well-known apex predator. This is a Velociraptor. This specific one is actually Velociraptor Charlie from the Amber collection. So this figure is very adjustable, can move all the different parts of its arms and legs, and you can adjust its head quite a bit as well too. And it's even got this headpiece right behind its face too. This is another ginormous T-Rex, and this T-Rex is pretty adjustable as well. As you can see, you can move the arms up and down, you can adjust the leg position, and instead of moving the neck and face up here, you actually can control it with the tail by swiveling it. This is another Velociraptor from the Amber collection. This one is Velociraptor Echo. This Velociraptor has the light brown coloring as well as the dark black right on top. And just like the other Amber collection Velociraptor, it is very adjustable on all different parts of its body. You can even move the claws on its feet up and down. Back over here, we've got a smaller Indominus Rex figure. This is an older Jurassic World figure. It's got the battle damage on the side that you can open and close. And this figure is fairly adjustable as well. You can move the legs a little bit, you can move the arms just a bit, and the tail controls the mouth and the neck too. We've got a few more awesome looking Baryonyxes in here. This first one has a slide action for different roaring sound effects. And this Baryonyx doesn't have any buttons on it, but you can use the tail to move the head around. Right over here is a well-known predator from Jurassic World. Once again, it isn't a real dinosaur, but I can guarantee this would be an apex predator. This is the Scorpius Rex. This figure has 2 action buttons on its back, one for the mouth and one for the claws. And the rest of the figure is pretty adjustable too. You can move the legs quite a bit, and you can adjust the neck to have it look around. And the tail is spring-loaded too, so you can fling the tail back and forth with those poisonous quills. Back here is a huge water dinosaur that I'm sure you recognize from the first Jurassic World movie. This is the Mosasaurus. This figure is ginormous. It's got a dark blue body on the top and then a white underbelly. And all over its body, you can actually see these like white specks, a little bit of detailing. And there's a few things that you can move on this figure. You can move the fins around, you can swivel the tail back and forth, and you can open and close the jaw, which is a pretty big jaw, I'd say. Probably fit a few small dinosaurs in there. Here's another popular apex predator. This is the Spinosaurus. Did you know that the Spinosaurus is the largest known carnivorous dinosaur that existed? These were even bigger than T-Rexes. This figure has an adjustable tail. The legs are pretty movable, as well as the ankles. You can move the arms up and down, and you can actually adjust the neck quite a bit as well too. Here is another awesome T-Rex predator. This looks to be very similar as the first T-Rex that I unboxed in this video, but with different coloring. See, it's got the brown body and the darker brown on top, and just like the other T-Rex, an adjustable tail. You can move the legs and the arms, and you can move the head around too. Here's another dinosaur from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is a Quetzalcoatlus. I didn't really know how big these dinosaurs were until I saw them in the new Jurassic World movie. These things were huge, and they took down that plane. This is a Ceratosaurus. I think we actually have another one with different coloring. This one is a dark green color with black detailing on the top, and this one is a light gray with red and a darker gray detailing on the top as well. And they both have that slide action button for different sound effects and different roars. I think the sound effects are the same though. This one's an interesting looking dinosaur. This is a Cryolophosaurus. Look at that interesting crowning on the top of its head. This Cryolophosaurus has a dark blue body with white, red, and bright orange detailing. And you can move the arms, you can move the legs, and you can use the tail to move the head around. Here is another mighty Carnotaurus, the red side and the dark, it's almost like a purple color on the top. This dinosaur has an adjustable tail and adjustable legs and arms, and there's a button on the top for the chomping action. Here's a species I don't think we've seen in this collection yet. This is an Allosaurus. It's got the dark green body with the red and white detailing. See, it's got those spikes right along its spines up top, and you can adjust the arms and the legs and the tail. And it's got the slide action button for different roars and chomps. This bright red dinosaur is a Metriacanthosaurus. It's a pretty interesting looking one, smaller than most of the other figures. It's got the bright orange detailing on the top of its head and the action button on its back for chomping. Next up, we've got, I believe, a Majungasaurus. This is a super colorful dinosaur. It's got the dark green, yellow, and blue on its neck. It's got those teal eyes. And like many of the other dinosaur figures, you can use the tail to move the head and neck around. This is an Albertosaurus with the Battle Damage edition. As you can see, it's got two different types of battle damage. One that's right there on the top of the plastic, and one that you can actually open up. This has the stomach and ribs that you can close down, and then the skin that you can do to cover all of the battle damage. That's pretty cool. The rest of the figure is pretty adjustable too. You can move the legs, arms, and tail, as well as the neck, and you can open and close the mouth manually. Over here is the Carcharodontosaurus with a blue body and orange and brown detailing. Look at all those spikes right along its spine too. It's interesting how they're all different heights. With this figure, you can move the arms, legs, and tail, and there's an action button on top for chomping. Here is another Allosaurus with different coloring and different actions too. Check out those spikes right along its spine. You can see the two action buttons right here, one for the mouth and one for the arms. And I think we actually have one more Allosaurus in here with different coloring. This one is gray with yellow detailing. You can only move the arms and legs in this figure, aside from the action button on its back that controls its mouth. Right over here is another Albertosaurus. This figure is about medium-sized, and it does not have any battle damage like the one we saw earlier, but it's still pretty adjustable. You can move the arms, the legs, and you can use the tail to control the face. Here is another Carnotaurus. This one is a newer figure from the Jurassic World Dominion series. As you can see, it's got the broken horn in the front, and this figure is smaller, but pretty adjustable. You can move the legs, the arms, twist the tail, and you can move the head and jaw around too. Here are a few small Dilophosaurus figures. This first one is mostly gray with red detailing and an action button on the tail that activates the frills. The second one is a bit more brightly colored. It has a green body and 2 different tones of orange, as well as the action button to activate the frills. And last but not least, we've got a bunch of smaller Velociraptor figures. Oh, actually, this is another baby T-Rex, just like we saw at the beginning of the video. But the rest of these figures are all Velociraptors, so let's check them out one by one. First, we've got the tan and brown Velociraptor. This one has a slashing action, spring-loaded torso, so it swings back and forth. This Velociraptor has a brown and yellow body with battle damage that you can open and close on the side. This next Velociraptor has a red and dark purple body, and you can move the arms, legs, and tail, as well as the mouth, but there's no special features on this figure. And these last 2 figures are similar in movement, but with different coloring. It's got the blue body with a yellow and gold coloring. This one has a dark brown color with orange on the top. Today, we're checking out all of my Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom predators. I've got raptors, I've got Indoraptors, I got T-Rexes, and I've even got one that I just bought on eBay. Let's check this one out first. This is the Grab and Growl Indoraptor. This is actually the first of this toy that I have in my collection. Let's check out the features. First of all, it is very movable and posable. You can see that you can move its shoulders, its elbows, its legs, all over. But the coolest part of this figure is the functions on the tail. You can see that it has a button on its tail right there that it actually used for slashing. And it comes with sound effects too. Plus, it also has a second button on the bottom of its tail used for the jaw. And finally, this Indoraptor has the tail that controls the front torso, like many T-Rex figures. So you can actually move it around and make it look super lifelike, as well as slash and chomp too. Hiding way in the back here, we've got a super colossal T-Rex. This is the orange and tan one. It's got the light underbelly. Let's check out those yellow eyes. It has a huge jaw that you can open up really wide. And of course, it has the stomach compartment, so you can feed it miniature dinosaurs too. Next up, we've got another big T-Rex. This is the Thrash and Throw T-Rex. It has a button on its foot for stomping sound effects. And the coolest part of this dinosaur is you use the tail to control the torso. You can get chomping, just like that, and you can also get a roaring pose too. Right over here, we've got a dark blue Suchomimus with yellow detailing right along the top. And it's got that huge spine all the way from the tail up to the top of the head. That is really cool. This dinosaur has a lot of teeth in its mouth and a very narrow jaw. And it has one action button on its back to control the chomping. Right over here, we've got a classic T-Rex figure. This one is also a light orange and brown. And while the tail does not control the torso or the head, there is a button on the top of its head to control the jaw. Next up, we've got another Indoraptor figure. This is the classic Indoraptor figure. You can see it's still very flexible and adjustable with its limbs and its arms. This figure does not have the buttons on its tail to control the arms and the jaw, but it is still a super posable figure and pretty well detailed. This giant figure is a Mosasaurus. I'm sure you recognize this even from the first Jurassic World movie. This figure is probably 2 feet long from head to tail, and it's got some pretty good texture on its body as well. You can see it's got the large bumps on the top of its back, and it's got the smaller bumps right along the side. This is the extreme battle damage Tyrannosaurus Rex. This T-Rex has battle damage all over its body. It's got some on its chin, on its neck, on its leg, even on its chest and tail too. It of course has that iconic orange and brown coloring all over its body. And just like the T-Rex that we saw earlier, it has a button on the top of its head to activate the jaw. This is the bright yellow and red Ceratosaurus. Check out that huge iconic horn on the top of its head. It's also got movable limbs and a tail, and there's an action button on its back to activate the jaw. Here I've got the yellow and gray Allosaurus. It has some pretty cool detailing right along the top, all the way from its tail to the top of its head. It also has some red right above its eyes, which is pretty cool. And it's got an action button on its back to activate the jaw. Next up, we've got a huge Carnotaurus figure. This figure has tiny arms in the front. It has adjustable legs and a tail. It has the classic clay red body on the side and a dark purple gray color right along the top. And of course, there's an action button on its back for snapping the jaw. This is a supersized Pteranodon figure. This dinosaur figure is probably 1 foot from wingtip to wingtip. It's got the dark blue body with the maroon and tan wings. There is a button on its back for flapping the wings, and you can open and close the jaw too. Here is the bright red Metriacanthosaurus. Most of its body is that bright red color. It's got some dark gray detailing right along the top of its back, and some yellow detailing on the top of its head and its nose too. The limbs are pretty adjustable on this figure, and of course, the button on the back to activate the jaw. This is the Baryonyx figure. It's got the light brown body with the dark gray blue detailing all along its back to its tail and to its neck, and it's got the reflective bright blue coloring on the top of its head too. I've actually got another Metriacanthosaurus in here. This one is like a mustard or like a dark green yellow color. Most of this dino figure's body is a dark green yellowish color. It's got the dark green detailing along the top of its body all the way to the top of the head, and it's got the action button on its back for the jaw. I've got another Baryonyx figure, but with slightly different coloring. It's still got the light brown body with the dark gray blue detailing on the top, but this figure has the bright orange coloring right on the top of its head and its nose too. I've got quite a few Velociraptor figures in here as well. Let's see what we got. First, we've got the classic Velociraptor blue figure with the iconic blue stripe all the way down the side of the body. I also have the green Velociraptor that is in the crawling or sneaking pose. You can also open and close this jaw too. I've got this super bright Velociraptor with the bright yellow and the brown on the top, and this Velociraptor is actually one of the leaping Velociraptors. So the legs are spring-loaded and you can send it flying into the air. And this Velociraptor has a bit more subtle coloring. It's got a gray body with the dark gray-blue detailing along the top and some cool orange eyes too. I've also got a few winged Dimorphodon figures. This first one is gray in color with some dark maroon or purplish color along the bottom of its wings. I've also got this green Dimorphodon with the bright orange and yellow along the bottom of its wings. And on both of these figures, you can open and close the jaws. Next up, I've got a few Dilophosaurus figures, all with different coloring. This first one is a soft green color with the yellow and red frills. This one is a gray-brown color with some blue detailing along the back, and its frills are white and a green-blue color too. And this Dilophosaurus, the brightest of the three, is a purple and red Dilophosaurus, and it's got some yellow, orange, and red along the frills in the front too. This is a Herrerasaurus. It is a light gray color with some brighter detailing. You can actually adjust the neck on this figure as well as the jaw, and of course all the other limbs as well. Here is another Herrerasaurus figure, but this one has a soft green coloring with the brown detailing on top. All the same body parts can move, and this one actually has some battle damage on the side that you can open and close. I've still got tons of Velociraptor figures in here. This first one is another Velociraptor blue, but this one has the battle damage on the side. Here is another spring-loaded Velociraptor. The legs are spring-loaded so that they can leap up into the air, and it's got a bright blue-green color all over its body. And I've also got the leaping Velociraptor blue as well. It's got the iconic coloring along the side of its body, and of course the spring-loaded legs for leaping into the air. Got just a few more figures in here. This one is the Protoceratops. It's got the dark brown body with darker detailing along the top and a red ridge right along its nose. And like many of these miniature figures, the limbs are fairly adjustable as well. And I've got two more Velociraptor figures in here. This first one is a dark red with purple detailing along the side, kind of the same design as Velociraptor blue. And I've got another leaping Velociraptor. This one is a dark tan color with the brown detailing along the top, and of course, the spring-loaded legs. And last but not least, I've got another giant Pteranodon figure with foldable wings and the same blue body with the red and tan wings. Today, I'm gonna show you this huge collection of Jurassic World figures that I took down from my display shelves. I bet there's around 100 figures in here. Plus, I've even got some brand new ones from the Amber collection, the Hammond collection, and from the new Jurassic World Dominion series that we're gonna open up. So let's get started. First up is the Strike and Roar Giganotosaurus. This figure is dark green in color, like many of the Giganotosaurus figures that I have. It's got the huge spines in the back all the way up to its head, and it's pretty adjustable. You can move the legs around, you can adjust the arms, and the biggest feature of this figure is the button on its back that you use to swing its head around. Look at that chomping action. Plus, there is a button at the bottom of its tail as well for chomping them out. Next up, we've got the Amber Collection Velociraptor from the Lost World Jurassic Park. Alright, here's the figure. This is a bright orange Velociraptor with a tan underbelly. It's got those dark brown stripes along the top, all the way to the top of the head. Looks like its eyes are like a dark gold color. And like all of the Amber Collection figures, this figure is very adjustable with all of its limbs and is very poseable. Plus, this figure comes with a stand that you can use to display your brand new Velociraptor. Next up is the Hammond Collection Parasaurolophus. So this figure is predominantly a light tan color. It's got some dark purple brown coloring along the legs and along the back, and most importantly, that bright orange stripe all the way from its head down to its tail. And overall, I'd say the detailing and paint on this is pretty decent. It's not the most detail that I've seen, but I definitely appreciate that you can move all the limbs around. You can bend at the knees, you can move the arms, you can adjust the neck and the head as well. So it is a very adjustable figure. And finally, we've got the Jurassic World Dominion Dr. Alan Grant and Dimetrodon set. So here is Dr. Alan Grant holding a Dimetrodon skull. That thing is humongous. And here is the Dimetrodon figure. Its body is a gray-green color, and it's got the iconic super huge spine along its back that's orange. Right along its spine you can find the DNA barcode scanner, and you can adjust the legs, the tail, the neck, and the jaw as well. Let's dive into our first bin of Jurassic World figures. This T-Rex has a tearing action. When you press this button on its back, it swings its head around and clamps its jaw shut. Plus, it's got another button on its back to swing the tail around too. Next up, we've got a bright orange T-Rex with battle damage all over its body. It's got some on its chin, on its neck, on its thigh, on its stomach, and it's got a button at the top of its head for the chomping action. Here is another bright orange T-Rex, but this one does not have any battle damage at all, and it also has the button on the top of its head for chomping. Here we've got a smaller T-Rex figure. I believe this is the Sound Surge T-Rex. It's got this button on its back that you can use to activate the sound effects. This, I believe, is the Jurassic World Dominion Thrash and Devour T-Rex. It's got the black top, brown sides, and the lighter underbelly, and you can use the tail to control the face. Got two more T-Rexes left in this haul. This is a dark green T-Rex. It's got the button on the top of its head for chomping, and the rest of its body is adjustable too. And way back here, we've got the T-Rex with the extreme battle damage. Check that out, you can turn it on and off. Next up are the Indominus Rexes. This first Indominus Rex figure is larger than a lot of the T-Rex figures I have, and it has two actions. The first is on the front of its back, that's used for claw slashing, and the second is on its tail, used for the jaws. This second Indominus Rex is the Extreme Battle Damage Edition. You can see its battle damage on this side and on the other side, and you can turn it on and off using the button on the top of its back. Next up are the Scorpius Rexes. This is a basic figure of the Scorpius Rex, so you can move its arms and legs somewhat, and its tail is slightly adjustable. And this figure, interestingly, is very narrow. And here is the better version of the Scorpius Rex figure. This figure is very adjustable, and it has two actions. The first is for roaring and chomping, and the second action button is for slashing the claws. Here we've got a ton of Ceratosaurus figures. This first one has a gray, red, and brown body with the white horn. This next one has a tan body with red and black and a yellow horn. I've also got a dark green Ceratosaurus with a slide lever action. A brown and orange Ceratosaurus with an action button on its back for chomping and roaring. And another gray, red, and black Ceratosaurus with a slide action lever on its back. Next up, I've got a few Carcharodontosaurus figures. This first one is a bright red Carcharodontosaurus with the yellow on the top of its head and some darker detailing on its back. And the second Carcharodontosaurus is yellow and green in color, and it has the same chomping action button as the first one. Here is a pretty scary looking predator. This is a Tarbosaurus. It is gray, black, and red right underneath its chin, and it's got these huge spikes right along its spine. Next, I've got two Albertosauruses. The first one has battle damage on its side that you can open up and close, and a little bit of battle damage right on its leg. And the second Albertosaurus is a bit brighter in color. It has a bright orange along the side, and it has an action button on its tail for chomping. Next up, this first Carcharodontosaurus is dark blue, and it's got some orange and brown detailing, and it has an action button for chomping. This second Carcharodontosaurus is tan in color, and it has some orange and brown detailing, and it actually has a face cage that you can use the action button to break free from. This dinosaur figure, if I remember correctly, is the Yangtruanosaurus. This figure has an action that when you move the tail, it swings its torso around, plus a button to activate the jaw. Here I've got a few Suchomimus figures. This first one is bright yellow with brown detailing along the top and 2 action buttons, one to activate the face and jaw, and a second to activate the tail. This second Suchomimus is dark blue in color with yellow detailing along the top and the spine and has 1 action button to activate the jaw. Next, we've got some Endoraptor figures. This first one is a basic figure, so you can only move the arms, legs, and tail a little bit, and you can't activate the jaw at all. But it still has some pretty awesome coloring and details with the spikes. And this second Endoraptor figure is extremely adjustable. You can move the arms, the legs, the elbows, the knees. The tail has 2 joints that you can turn, and you can open and close the jaw too. I've also got quite a few Allosaurus figures in here too. This first one is gray and yellow in coloring and has an action button on its back to activate the jaw. This next Allosaurus is tan and blue with actually 2 tones of blue on its body, and it has 2 action buttons, one to activate the jaw and one to activate the arms. Here are 2 more Allosaurus figures. This first one is dark green, white, and red in color and has a slide action button to activate the jaw and roaring sound effects. And this Allosaurus is brown and blue in color and has the slide action lever to activate the jaw and sound effects. And the last dinosaur of this first bin is the Irritator. It has a brown body with blue and light blue coloring, and you can use the tail to control the face. On to the second bin. This first dinosaur is the Extreme Chompin' Spinosaurus with the dark green body and the red spine. This next figure, I believe, is the Camp Cretaceous Spinosaurus with the same body but with a light tan color and darker brown along the top right next to the red spine. I've also got quite a few Carnotaurus figures in here as well. This one is a dark brown Carnotaurus and has an action button on its tail for chomping. This next Carnotaurus figure is a bit smaller, but it's from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. It's dark green in color with the orange detailing right along the top. This next Carnotaurus is bright orange in color with a darker top and also has the action button on its tail for chomping. And this final Carnotaurus is a bit smaller and darker red in color and has an action button on the top of its back for chomping. This next figure is a Seats Microrum. It's got the bright orange and the dark blue coloring and all these spikes right along the top of its head and its back too. And over here I've got quite a few Baryonyx figures. This first one is dark gray and blue with bright blue right along the top. This next figure is dark brown and dark gray with the bright orange right along its nose. And these other Baryonyx figures have all sorts of colors as well. This one is bright green with brown detailing. This next one has actually a little bit of battle damage on its side, right on its neck and on its leg. And this final Baryonyx is gray and a dark blue-gray in color with the reflective blue right along the top of its head. I've also got a few Cryolophosaurus figures as well. This first one is dark blue with white, red, and orange detailing and has an action button that you can use to control the head. And this second Cryolophosaurus figure is bright yellow with brown detailing along the top and the orange right along the top of the head. Right here are a few basic Dilophosaurus figures. This first one is a soft green color all over its body, and it has the red coloring right along its frills and the crown. And this second Dilophosaurus is a dark red color, and it has the green and orange coloring right along its frills, and the yellow on the crown too. Next up is the Rajasaurus from the Jurassic World Dominion collection. This dinosaur has an action that when you press down on the body, it chomps. Next up, I believe this is the Majungasaurus. It's got a dark green body with yellow and blue as well. And here is one of the stars of the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is the Here are a few Ankylosauruses from the original Jurassic World movie. This first one is brown and tan in color, has a little bit of battle damage on the side. This one right here is a special edition because it has a removable protective shell on top of its spikes, as well as on the back of its tail right here, and is a gray color, but it also has some reflective green and blue coloring all throughout. Next up, we've got a basic raptor figure. This is Velociraptor Blue, and this figure is fairly adjustable. You can move the arms, the legs, and tail just a little bit. This is an interesting looking dinosaur. This is a concavinator. It's got some super bright coloring along its back and on its face too. This figure, I believe, is an Ankylosaurus. This dinosaur has the super long neck and all these spikes right along its back, and it has an action button to control the head. We've also got a few Triceratops figures back here. This first one is a clay red color with brown detailing right along the top. And this second one is a dark brown color with two tones of blue right along the top. Next up, we've got a Megaraptor from the Jurassic World Dominion series. This figure has a chomping action that you can activate by pressing down on its body. This dinosaur figure is the Pseudoceratops. It's got the blue, red, and green body with the lighter underbelly and an action button to activate the head and the tail. This huge figure is the Pentaceratops. It's got a tan body with gray detailing along the top and an action button to break free from its face cage. Looks like we have a few more Indominus Rex figures back here. This first one is the larger of the two. It has battle damage right on the side that you can open and close, and you can use the tail to activate the jaw. And this second Indominus Rex figure is a bit smaller. It has permanent battle damage on the side, and you can use the tail to activate the jaw and the neck. This, I believe, is a Spinosaurus. It's got the green body with the tan detailing all over. It's got a little bit of orange on the top of its head, too. And I've got a few Stegosaurus figures in here as well. This one is a teal blue color with a lighter underbelly and has an action button to swing the tail back and forth. This next Stegosaurus figure is a darker blue-gray color and is very much similar and has the same action button to swing the tail around. And this final Stegosaurus is brown, tan, and green in color, and actually has a different action button that when you press right here, it swings its entire back body back and forth. That's different than the other two figures that I have. This next figure, I believe, is a Kentrosaurus, and it has a brown body and a slide lever action to activate the swinging back and forth with those two front spikes. Over here, we've got a few more Ankylosauruses from Jurassic World. This first one has a clay red body with the brown on top and the tan spikes. And this second one has a dark brown belly with the gray spikes and the green and gray all over the top. I've also got a few more Velociraptors from the Amber collection. Here is the bright green one with gray detailing and the gray underbelly. Here is the brown Velociraptor with the light underbelly and the gray detailing along the top. We've also got this gray Velociraptor, I believe is Velociraptor Blue. And I've also got this bright teal Velociraptor with the lighter underbelly. This figure is another Parasaurolophus. It's got the yellow body with the bright pink or purple coloring right along the top. Here is an Iguanodon that I bought just recently. It has a tan body with a darker brown top and the striping, and has a head swinging action when you press down on the body. This is the Baryonyx from the Hammond collection, and is very adjustable with all the limbs in its body. I've also got a few Atrociraptors in here. This first one is tan and in the sneaking pose, and this second one is the classic gray color with the brown striping. Next, I've got the Miragaia with the huge spikes on its side, and I believe this is the Shringosaurus with a much smaller spikes right on its shoulders. I've also got tons of Velociraptors in here. This first one is bright red and green and is actually one of the jumping Velociraptors. This other Velociraptor is one of the normal ones, but is gray in color and has the dark blue coloring right along the top. I've Got even more Velociraptors. This first one has the extreme battle damage on the side. This next Velociraptor is another one of the jumping Velociraptors and is a bright teal color. And this Velociraptor is dark red with a purple stripe right down the sides. And here's even some more Velociraptor figures. This first one is Velociraptor Blue in the Springing series. Here is another Velociraptor Blue figure, but this one is the Battle Damage edition that you can open and close. Here is a classic brown Velociraptor with the bright green eyes. And here is Velociraptor Beta, a much smaller and younger Velociraptor. Here are a couple Dimetrodon figures. This first one is a gray-blue color along its body with a bright red and yellow speckled spine. This other figure is actually a Battle Damage edition that you can turn on and off. It has the green body with the bright red spine. This brightly colored figure is the Moros Intrepidus, and it's got the teal body with the bright orange tail. I've also got a few Herrerasaurus figures in here as well. First one is a gray-blue color with a lighter detailing along the top. And this second one actually has battle damage on the side, and the rest of its body is green with brown detailing along the top. Next up, I've got a few Monolophosaurus figures in here. This first one is a darker brown color with gray detailing, and this other Monolophosaurus is a bright lime green with darker green detailing right along its back, and the red right next to its nose. Here we've got some herbivore figures. This is the Dracorex in the lime green color. This next herbivore is a Stygimoloch, I believe. It's got the huge spikes right next to its hard head, and the rest of its body is a clay red color with some darker detailing. And this figure is a Pachycephalosaurus. It's got the green on the belly and the clay red on top, and an action button for the head hammering. Here are a few more Dilophosaurus figures, but a lot smaller. This first one is brown and blue with some white in the frill. This next one is a deep purple color with red on the back and yellow and red right along the frills. And this final Dilophosaurus is green on the belly, black on the back, and it's got some red and yellow in the frills. We've got a few more herbivores in here. Here is a Battle Damage Edition Triceratops with the battle damage right along the side. We've also got a Minmi figure that is green in color, and it's got the spikes all along its back. And I believe that this one is a Cosmoceratops and is very decorative in the front. Next up, we've got a Protoceratops that is purple in color, and it's got the yellow detailing along the top. This figure I think might be an Iguanodon, but I'm actually not sure, but it is dark blue along the sides and the bottom, and it's got the orange-yellow detailing along the top. And this figure is another Parasaurolophus. This is a light brown color on the belly and the sides, and it's got the darker detailing along its back. And here are our last 3 dinosaurs out of these 2 huge bins. We've first got a baby Brachiosaurus that is light green on the sides and a darker green along the top. Here is a Sauropelta with the huge spikes on the top. And finally, the good old Zunoceratops with the 2 spikes in the front and the dark blue along the top and its back, and the rest of its body is a light green color. Welcome back to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we are checking out a ton of Predator dinosaur figures from the Camp Cretaceous collection. And I've even got some huge brand new ones to open up today. Let's go ahead and start with these brand new ones. Let's start with the biggest one at the bottom here. This is the super colossal Indominus Rex. Let's open it up. This thing is already huge. Let's get those legs and tail on. Here is the fully assembled super colossal Indominus Rex. So first off, It has the typical coloring that the smaller Indominus Rexes have, but when you open up the mouth, you can see that there's a tunnel that goes all the way down into the stomach compartment right here. So you can actually feed this Indominus Rex miniature dinosaurs and then empty it out through the stomach right here. That is super cool. Plus, even though this thing is huge, it still is fully adjustable. Of course, you can adjust the jaw. You can also twist the neck. You can adjust the arms up and down. You can move the legs and ankles. And of course, you can move the tail. All in all, I'd say this dinosaur is probably around 2 feet tall and maybe 3 feet long. We've still got 2 brand new dinosaurs to open up. Let's start with the Albertosaurus. All right, so this is a medium-sized dinosaur. As you can see, it is a mostly green dinosaur, but it has those red striping on its side from the head all the way to its stomach on both sides. And there's an action button on the tail. If you press the button, it chomps the jaw. Plus, if you twist the tail, it moves its head back and forth like that. I have a few other Albertosauruses. Some of them even have battle damage on the side. This one does not, so this is just the normal primal attack Albertosaurus. Next up, we've got a feeding frenzy Indominus Rex. Let's open it up. All right, here is the feeding frenzy Indominus Rex. Let's check it out. So it has the same coloring as the huge one that we just saw, and it has this huge face and jaw too. This dinosaur comes with tons of sound effects, and it comes with this piece of meat. Let's see what happens when you feed it. So it's making some growling noises, and when it hits the trigger in there, its eyes start glowing too. That is pretty cool. And I love how big the teeth are on this dinosaur as well. Just look at that. Those are so huge. Right up top here, we've got another Indominus Rex. This one is still huge, not quite as huge as the super colossal one that we just opened up. And as you can see, it's colored kind of the same. It has some dark gray on the top and a lighter gray on the sides. It's got those orange eyes. And this dinosaur has 2 action buttons on it. First, you've got the tail button that activates the jaw. And then you've got a button on its back that activates the slashing action. All in all, this is a really cool Indominus Rex figure. Up next, we've got a giant Spinosaurus with dark green coloring on the sides. And on its spine, there's red, white, and a little bit of green at the bottom. Plus, this Spinosaurus is fully adjustable with the neck, the arms, the legs, and the tail. And of course, you can press the button on the top of its head to open its jaw. This is a super awesome figure and huge. Right up here, we've got a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but I believe that this one was custom colored. So you won't really see coloring like this on other T-Rexes that you can get. But look how cool it is. It's bright red, black on the top, and then the orange on the sides. It almost looks like the T-Rex is on fire. That is so awesome. Back here, we've got another T-Rex. This one is normal color. It's got brown on the sides, a darker brown on the top, and the tan belly. Plus, this dinosaur has a few action buttons as well. You can move the tail, and it moves its head around, which I really like. It's super realistic. And there's even a button on the tail that you can press to open its jaw. Back here, we've got another T-Rex, but this one is battle damage. Look at that right on the side. And pressing the button, you can turn it on and off. That is super awesome. And this T-Rex is fully adjustable with the legs, tail, neck, and the jaw as well. Back here, we've actually got another battle damage T-Rex, but this one is a bit different than the other one. Instead of having the thing on its side right here, you can see that there's a bunch of slashes all over its body, on the tail, on its legs, on its belly, and even on its face. And just like the other T-Rexes, this is fully adjustable. You can move the tail, the legs, the arms, the neck, and this one has a button at the top to make it roar. Here is another giant Spinosaurus with different coloring than the last one we saw. This one is mostly brown with the red detailing. You can see along its face it's got that bright red coloring as well as along its spine. And even on the top you can see that there's a lighter tan and then a dark brown color right along the top. That is super cool. Fully adjustable, and it has the button on the head that you can use to open its jaw. Up next, we've got the mighty Carcharodontosaurus. This dinosaur is a mostly tan yellow coloring, but you can see that there's orange and brown striping all the way up to its head. And this dinosaur has an action button as well. With the button on its back, you can do the chomping action. Here is the Tarbosaurus. This dinosaur has totally different coloring. It is a dark gray color with black stripes all along its body. It's got those spikes all along its spine, and right on its chin and on its neck is a bright red color. This dinosaur is fully adjustable with its arms, legs, tail. The tail actually controls the head, and the button on the tail controls the jaw as well. Here's another fierce predator. This is an Allosaurus. It's a dark green color with red and white speckles on its neck and face. And it is fully adjustable, and it's got this slide action. That is super awesome. Right over here, we've got the great Metriacanthosaurus. I think that's how you pronounce it. This is a yellow-green color on the sides. It's got the green coloring on top with the action button that controls its jaw. And it is fully adjustable in the legs and arms as well. Right over here, we've actually got a few Baryonyxes with totally different coloring. This first one, gray coloring with blue and a bright blue on the top, and it has a slide action for its roars. This second Baryonyx is brown colored, and it has blue detailing on the top and a bright orange top of the head. And the action button on this dinosaur activates the jaw. All right, here's another massive predator. This is a Carnotaurus. This dinosaur can be controlled by its tail. When you move its tail, it moves its head around. There's also a button on the tail to activate the jaw. And I love the coloring on this. This is like a dark brown red color with speckles of like a gray color as well. So it's quite detailed and fully adjustable as usual too. Right over here, we've got a super long-nosed dinosaur. This is the Sarcophagus. This is a clay red color on the top. Look at all those spikes along the top of its body. And along the bottom is a dark green color. But I love the detail of all those spikes along its back. That really gives it a strong texture. That's really cool. And the tail, of course, controls the head, so you can move the head around. Right back here, we've got a winged dinosaur. I'm sure you recognize this from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is the Quetzalcoatlus, and it has two action buttons. The first on the top flaps its wings, and there's actually one on the bottom that controls the mouth. Oh, here's a dinosaur you don't see too much of. This is a Ceratosaurus. This dinosaur is gray with splotches of dark brown, and of course the red back and the super bright red face with the white horn on the very top. This dinosaur has an action button on its back that controls its jaw, and the rest of its body is fully adjustable. Right back here is another Sarcophagus, but this one has totally different coloring. It's got the blue bottom, the dark purple top, same spines though, and then it's got orange and red splotches all over its back. That is super cool. Here is another unusual predator. This is the Majungasaurus. This dinosaur is pretty brightly colored. Although it's mostly green in the back, it has those bright yellow coloring right along its back and that bright blue color right on its neck and on its head. And this figure has quite a lot of sound effects, as you can hear. The tail also moves the head around so you can make it look super realistic. All right, this is another super noisy dinosaur. This is the Cryolophosaurus. This figure is dark blue around most of its body, and it's got the orange head and neck as well. I love that accent. And with this tail, you can adjust the head and wiggle it around. How cool is that? All right, here is a full-sized Allosaurus. I love the coloring on this dinosaur. It's got the tan yellow bottom and the bright blue top. That is so cool. I think we've actually got two Allosauruses here, both with different coloring. So let's check this one out first. This one has two action buttons on the top. The first controls its jaw, and the second button controls its arms. How cool is that? The legs are fully adjustable, and the tail you can twist as well. The second Allosaurus is mostly gray with the yellow splotches all along the top of its body. And this has one action button on its back where you press it and it controls the jaw. Right over here, we've got a brightly colored Suchomimus. This is a bright yellow with brown along its spine, and this dinosaur has a few action buttons. The first controls its neck and jaw, and the second controls its tail. Plus, the rest of the figure is fully adjustable as well. Oh, here's actually a second Suchomimus with totally different coloring. This one is mostly blue along the entire body, but it's got the yellow detailing along its spine as well as those splotches. And this Suchomimus has one action on its back. When you press it down, it does a chomping action. All right, here's another Baryonyx with different coloring. This Baryonyx is light brown on the sides and the belly, and on the top has a dark blue coloring all along its back to the tail and to the head. But the coolest part of the coloring is this super reflective blue coloring right on its head. This Baryonyx is fully adjustable, and it has one action button for its jaw. Here is another Cryolophosaurus. This one is differently colored than the last one that we saw. It's mostly yellow with the brown on the top and of course the bright orange crown on its head. This dinosaur is fully adjustable. You can move the tail to adjust the head. And of course, as you can hear, it comes with tons of sound effects. Here is another Metriacanthosaurus. But once again, different coloring than the last one we saw. This one is a bright red color with brown detailing all along its back. And on the head, you can see that it's got that bright orange and yellow coloring. There is one action button on this dinosaur, and that controls the jaw. Up next, we've got another Carcharodontosaurus. Check out the coloring on this one. This is a bright blue coloring, and it's got the brown and orange specks on its back and neck, and right around its eye as well. This dinosaur is fully adjustable with legs, arms, and tail, and there's one action button on its back that when you press, it does a chomping action. All right. We've got another Baryonyx right here. This one is bright green with brown on the top. And as usual, the arms and legs are fully adjustable, and there is one action button on the top that controls its jaw. All right, check this one out. I remember this from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is a Dimetrodon. And look at that huge spine on its back. It's red with yellow speckles all over it. And with this dinosaur figure, when you wiggle the tail back and forth, it opens and closes its jaw. All right, I see a ton of velociraptors in here. Let's pull a few out. This velociraptor is a green color with a darker green along the top and is fully adjustable. Even with the mouth, you can open and close. The second velociraptor is different coloring. This is a blue along most of its body. It's got the tan bottom, but the coolest part of all, it's got the yellow along the top and a shining gold along its head. It's actually reflective, which is super cool. And this velociraptor is mostly tan. You can see it along the bottom and the sides with the brown top, But most importantly, this Velociraptor has a slashing action. It is spring-loaded, so you can actually twist its torso back and forth, and it'll do this slashing action. All right over here, we've got a baby T-Rex with a jaw-chomping action, brightly green colored, and fully adjustable. And this is a Dilophosaurus. It is mostly gray colored with darker gray along the top, but this Dilophosaurus actually has an action. When you move the tail, it activates its frills. That's so cool. We've still got more Velociraptors in here. Let's check them out. Here are 4 Velociraptors. The first is an orangish Velociraptor, and it has the slashing action. The next Velociraptor is a bright red color with green striping on the top. Look at how bright this Velociraptor is, and it is fully adjustable. The next Velociraptor is a classic one. This is blue, and it comes with battle damage on the side as well. And this Velociraptor is more of a yellow coloring with brown on the top. This one also comes with battle damage on the side as well. All right, just a few dinosaurs left. This is a Herrerasaurus. It is all green, and it has different shades of green all along its body. And it is fully adjustable with the mouth, the neck, the arms, and the legs. Over here, we've got a weird-looking dinosaur. This is the Shringosaurus. Look at those huge horns on its head, and the brown coloring on the top, and the yellow on the sides. This is quite the odd-looking dinosaur. At least I think so. And our last 2 dinosaurs of this collection. First, we've got the Great Dimorphodon. This is mostly a gray color with a dark red along the bottom of its wings, but it's still fully adjustable with its legs, its mouth, its neck, and its wings. And this Velociraptor is a dark gray color with yellow detailing right along the top of it, and is fully adjustable as well.
Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.